Hey, thanks for joining us for another episode of Triple Play. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to support those that support us. So that is Annie McCollum and Resource One. If you got any financial planning needs, their number is 636-458-1798. Also, don't forget CS Design, Chris and his folks, for any of your web, graphic design, anything like that, especially if you're a small business. 573-436-3717. And lastly, that's Jeff Earhart Insurance of State Farm, and their number is 314-821-5333. You probably know who State Farm is, but if you don't, they do homeowners insurance and all that kind of stuff. So give them a holler if you have any insurance needs in your life. We're appreciative of those three. And then we're slowly starting to get used to our one that's coming on, which is Brookes Bible College. If you haven't checked them out, go to the show notes. We'll have their link in there. But they are a Bible institute here in the St. Louis region. They offer both pastoral degrees and counseling degrees. Check out the full episode on them. We just dropped about a week before this episode, so you'll appreciate that if you want to learn about it. You got a student, maybe you're a layperson, just want to get more educated about God's Word and have it correctly shown to you how to study God's Word. I can't recommend them enough. We're excited about partnering up and doing more with Brookes Bible College here in St. Louis. With that said, today's guest, you'll notice he has a mustache, and and you'll notice I'm missing my other co-host, so Scott's gone today, but that's all right. Today I get to do my brother-in-law, Jim Moss. Jim Moss is a fire chief, or captain. I almost said chief.
Hey, you promoted me. I like it.
Fire captain. And how long you been a captain now? About 10 years?
So captain about 8 years now, in the fire service for just over 15 years, and paramedic before that for 3 years.
Wow. So
long enough.
I know it goes by quickly.
Yeah,
it really does. I mean, I was thinking the other day, like, you've progressed and now you've kind of hit this, and the next thing would be chief, right? Like after captain?
Yep.
So
different levels of chief after captain, but yep.
Yeah, very cool. Well, all that said, it is great to have you here today, Jim. And for those who won't know anything about you, tell them a little bit about where you grew up, who you are, a little bit about your testimony, and then we'll get into how you got passionate about being in the fire industry, a paramedic, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So grew up in South St. Louis, South Grand area, kind of like by 44 and Grand, Tower Grove Park area. I'm the youngest of four siblings, as you know, and moved from South St. Louis when I was 13 with my mom out to West County of St. Louis. Went to, I got to say the St. Louis question, where'd you go to high school? So I went to Parkway South High School. And I
was actually cheering for them yesterday. I have one of my students from youth group. He was middle school forever. Now he's in high school, but Noel was running, and he was running yesterday. So I cheered for Eureka for Noel, and then I had to swap over and cheer for good old Cole to win for his.
Good. So yeah, went to Parkway South, graduated from there in '99. And went to Truman State University. Started off, I was going to be a Spanish teacher. And so I was heading towards a Spanish degree, and I made it to my junior year. And I said, I don't want a 9-to-5, Monday through Friday kind of inside type of job. Definitely don't want to be behind a desk or an office or anything. No offense, but.
No, I didn't think I'd be doing that either. My industry evolved from being a lot more people and moving around to being in an office desk. It's the thing I hate now. I got to go to the gym all the time just to get the energy out.
Got to get out, right?
Yeah.
So that was one of my things, is like, I need to be out. I want to physically challenge myself. I like being physically fit and doing something that's physically demanding. So if I don't want a normal schedule, I want something that's physically demanding. I want to be outside a lot. What can I do? And, my dad always said growing up, don't have a job where you have to take your work home with you. He was a lawyer. He always had to bring home his work and was a workaholic. And so I said, what can I do instead? And so I said, I'm going to be a firefighter. And he always told me not be a police officer. Uncle John, they were police officers. So I knew not to go that route. No offense to my police brethren or anything, but that wasn't for me. So I was like, I'm going to be a firefighter. So from college, told my dad, I said, he's paying for my college. So I'm like, I don't want to be a Spanish teacher. I want to be a firefighter now. He's like, I don't care what you do, but you're going to finish your degree. And so I finished my degree in Spanish. So I got a bachelor's of Spanish from Truman State. But started my EMT schooling up there, became an EMT basic. Then when we moved back to St. Louis, became a paramedic after another year of schooling, got some more experience down in St. Louis City Fire Department on the EMS side, and worked in the city for about 3 years in North St. Louis. Was busy, got my experience. And then after 3 years, went out to Metro West Fire District out here in West County, and been there for almost 16 years now. So like we said, 8 years as a captain, and then, almost 8 as a firefighter paramedic.
That's awesome. So the shift was to go into fire was really just wanting to be more active and have a job where you could get out there. That's awesome. I honestly look back and I wish I would have become a firefighter. I look
Never
at
too
your
late.
I don't know. I'm pretty old now. So
I think you could still pass the physical agility, and you're a people person, so I think you'd be good.
Who knows? Who knows? We might have to try it. So. But no, that is really, really cool. So now that led to another passion, which was this fitness book that you would write. So start to talk to me about how that comes about, because I know initially when you got in, you were all wanting to be jacked and big.
I was just wanting to be fit for the job was the main thing, right? And so I was never the biggest guy. As you can see, I'm not the biggest guy, even now. And so I trained really hard, and before, even going into my physical agility test that I was going to take at St. Louis City, because I was going to try and get on at St. Louis City as a firefighter, and I knew their physical agility test and what it required. And so I was at the gym, when I was still an EMT and paramedic in the city, I would go to the gym and I would put 50 pounds in my normal backpack. I would be on the step mill going and as long as I could, and because I was always taught legs and lungs. So get good cardio and have strong legs, and you'll be able to pass, any firefighter physical agility test. And I still pass that on to other people, legs and lungs.
That's the key, right?
That's the key. Yeah. And so that's kind of how my passion for fitness started. I knew I had to be physically prepared for the job because it's a physically demanding job, and I wanted to be prepared for the physical agility test to become a firefighter. So I was taking it very seriously from very early on. But how I wrote a book, and I didn't write it by myself. It was with my writing partner, my co-author, Dan Kerrigan. So we were in the fire service for a number of years. He's been in the service for 35 years. I've been in the service for 16 years. And so right around 2015, we were just posting on social media, on Twitter, now called X, have to call it X now.
Yeah.
Posting on Twitter, just,
How'd you connect with him?
Then that's how we're going to get to. So I was just posting on social media, and he was too, just stuff about, making fitness functional and practical for firefighters, and just the importance of fitness for firefighters, because in the fire service, unfortunately, the fire service makeup when it comes to disease, obesity, cardiovascular problems, mimics the American population directly. And you would think the fire service should be a lot better, right? But that's not the case. It's just the same breakdown in statistics as the American population, which is sad. 34% of the fire service is unfortunately obese, and the same thing for the American public. It's the same statistics. And so we were posting on social media, just, the importance of fitness for firefighters, making it practical, taking ownership of fitness. And he reached out to me via direct message one day. He's like, "Man, I love what you're posting. Would you consider writing an article with me about, some of the stuff we're both posting for Fire Engineering Magazine, which is the most popular, the biggest firefighter publication there is?" And I said, sure, why not? What do I have to lose? And so we wrote an article in 2015 called The 4 Fundamentals of Firefighter Functional Fitness. So a lot of F's in there, but it was basically our 4 pillars that is now in our book, but we never knew we were going to write a book about it. So we put this article out with Fire Engineering Online, and it turned out being their most popular article all year. And so most downloaded, most viewed, most read. And we're like, oh, well, I guess this is resonating with people. Now's the time to kind of expand on this message, still with no intention of writing a book or publication or anything. And so what we ended up doing next, within one of our pillars, the physical fitness pillar, we have something called the Big 8 concept. And so it's movement and task-based fitness for firefighters. So it's push, pull, lift, carry, and drag, and then core strength, cardiovascular capacity, and flexibility. So that's the Big 8.
Okay.
And so we were going to write an online series, one article for each of these Big 8 concepts. So eight different articles. So we start writing these blogs, and we didn't even put them out yet, but we start writing them, and we're like, are you thinking what I'm thinking? And we were like, yeah. So we're like, let's write a book about it. And so it took about a year for us to write it, have it edited, get back to us, rewrite some of the stuff, expand on it. Has over, in our book, it's called Firefighter Functional Fitness.
They can see it. It's behind you.
Oh, yeah. I like it. Yeah.
Okay.
That's good. And so it took about a year for it all to come together. In 2016, we published it. And, by God's hands, it's now in 50 plus countries worldwide. It's been on, the Amazon bestseller list. And we get to teach and go to fire departments nationwide. And Dan's even been over to the United Kingdom teaching over there for us. So pretty awesome. And we never set out to write a book, never set out to be public speakers or anything like that. He's fire chief or retired fire chief. I'm just a fire captain who likes doing the job and believes fitness is important, but, don't, as mom says, don't tie God's hands. You never know what God can do and open doors for you. And I just try and do the best I can with spreading the message and helping firefighters take better ownership of their fitness.
That's awesome. And I keep running into firefighters all over the place that know you because you come to you do these, is it a 2-day fitness class?
Yeah, so we do all different types of classes and we call them workshops because we want to make sure people know that they're going to work in our classes, right? So it's not just teaching people about fitness, and going through the lecture. It's a hybrid between lecture and getting out in the apparatus bay or into their fire department's gyms and going through our Big 8 concept and doing stuff like, recovery with foam rolling and all those different things. So, so we offer, from the shortest class we offer is 4-hour workshop. And then we go all the way up to 2 days, which is our most intensive and what we would say our most fun because we get to, really work with the firefighters that are in these workshops and we have a good time.
That's awesome. So when you're with these guys, and obviously even in your own crew, have you started to identify some of the things that you think are root causes to the fire department being that way? I mean, we talk about obese or overweight. Is it, do you find that it's because they're sitting around the house and there's, at the firehouse, there's food available?
Yeah.
That people bring by all that goodies, especially on holidays? Or is it just, do you think, just like the average American, unattentive to the important parts of life?
So, and like I said before, when it came to statistics, it's just the fire service is a direct mirroring of the American society and our culture in America. And so the thing is when you in the fire service is 93 to 95% males. So when you get a bunch of males typically together, it's easy to kind of think and go in a certain way to where if one person, how one person can influence people for good, well, that's not always the case. One person can kind of influence people for the worst. And so if one person starts being, lazy and not taking care of themselves, not taking ownership of their fitness, that can really influence others on their crew and in their fire department. But on the other hand, when one person in their fire department can influence others for the better, to take better care of themselves. So when it comes down to it, it's very individualistic as to reasons why people or firefighters don't take care of themselves the way they should. One of which is the lack of ownership. One of which may be that fire department doesn't have physical fitness standards, that whole minimum standards of fitness. And a lot of people are surprised by that. Civilians, lay people are surprised by that. Every fire department doesn't have minimum physical fitness standards. Where I work, I'm fortunate to say that we do have that, but that is pretty common that fire departments do not have physical fitness standards. There's a minimum standard to get in as a firefighter. There's usually that physical agility test I talked to you about, but there's not repeat exams or testing every year to have people, have firefighters continue on as a firefighter, which a lot of people are surprised about, right? You would think if I call 911, all my firefighters are going to be fit, ready for the job, fully prepared physically, but that's not always the case. So when it comes back to it, that's another cause of no minimum standards every year when it comes to physical fitness. Lack of ownership, but also I think just with any job, but especially for firefighting, complacency. People just get complacent in their jobs and they kind of do the minimum, revert back to being lazy and do the minimum to just get by, right? And so there might be a firefighter who hasn't been really tested physically. They may have not gone to a fire in a couple years, like a really one that challenges them. That's like, hey, that wake up call that, I need to take better care of myself. And so maybe they haven't been tested in a few years or 10 years, or they've tried to go to the slower fire station to where they don't get barely any fires or physically demanding calls, and they're just trying to go under the radar. It's that complacency of like, I've been able to do nothing, very minimum to get by. So I think I'll just be able to skate by and I'll just take the risk of not taking care of myself. So that's another thing. But as we know, as firefighters, that one call that's really going to test you and test your physical limits can come at any time. You never know when that call is going to come. And so for me, I preach, you got to always be physically ready. You don't have to be the perfect example of fitness, and you don't have to be able to deadlift 1,000 pounds or bench press 500 pounds. You don't have to be able to run a marathon. You just need to be able to do the job and make sure you're prepared, to rescue anyone, rescue your brothers and sisters on the job, rescue civilians, and your family is in my fire district, right?
Right.
So you would think, you want us all to be physically prepared for the job, right? And so I want to make sure. And one of the sayings in the fire service, a fellow friend of mine, John Spera, who is a firefighter out in Colorado, he said, "Would you want you rescuing your family? Would you want you rescuing you?" So be that firefighter that is prepared to rescue your family, yourself as well. So that's always something that in my head that motivates me and makes me want to take better care of myself, but also share that fitness message of everybody. Hey, this is serious. Let's take care of ourselves.
Absolutely. It's kind of one of the motivators for me losing my weight when I initially did was my family.
Yeah.
So, you really want to be able to honor the Lord and be able to take care of them and
be good stewards of what we've been blessed with.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's interesting that you said there's not the standards. That really blows me away that so many of them don't have that. Yeah. I would have thought that you have to have a standard to get in and maintain a standard. That blows me away. Yeah,
I agree. But fortunately, where I work, where I'm at, we do have minimum standards, and but that's not the case with every single fire department.
That's wild. Now, one of the things that I wanted to mention about your book is, I know that we're talking about it for firefighters. I'm not a firefighter, but I have gone to your book hundreds of times to pick out exercises. In fact, I was using it quite a bit during the COVID since I was working out at home a lot.
Sure.
I'm constantly trying to find ways to work the body groups and use stuff. And that's one of the things I love about your book is that you guys put concepts in there that aren't always built around the gym. It's around what's available at a firehouse.
Right.
Hoses,
ladders, tools. Yep, exactly.
And some of those things are available at our house.
Yeah.
Like stairs.
Yeah.
Going up and down stairs and things like that. So I found that I would almost tell people get it, not just even if you're not a firefighter, just because if you want a good book to have overall fitness, if you took off Firefighter Functional Fitness and took out maybe a 16th of that book,
Sure.
it would be just one of the greatest workout books of all time, almost for anybody.
Right. And well, I appreciate that. And that's the thing is like we focused on movement patterns instead of focusing on like muscle groups like biceps or chest or anything like that. So like I said before, pushing, pulling, lifting, carrying, dragging, like those are the firefighter movements, but don't we all do those kind of things? You know, we do those in some capacity, right? And so if you're just wanting a comprehensive approach to fitness and your health and wellness overall, you know, that's why we have the other pillars of recovery and rest, hydration, nutrition, right? It's not just about fitness, you know, it's about the comprehensive approach to wellness. And so if you have all those together and it's comprehensive, then obviously you're going to be in better shape, you know, for whatever you do, whether you're a firefighter or you're, you're a mortgage broker.
Yeah, there you go. Well, as I said, I have found it to be handy in multiple ways, and I've encouraged other folks to try buying it on Amazon or wherever, because I'm like, hey, if you want a good fitness book, it's really one of the best well-written fitness books I've ever seen.
I appreciate that.
And one of the things you just said is one of the keys, because most people aren't going to be a bodybuilder. Mm-hmm. They just want to get in good shape. They want to be able to hike, keep up with their kids, do normal things. A lot of things that a fireman would do.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if you really think about it, you don't want your fireman to be so big that he can't put his jacket on. You want him to be muscle enough to carry somebody if needed, right?
Sure.
You want him to be fast, lean, be able to be quick, be able to get in and out of situations and save somebody. And you don't do that if you're really big.
Yeah.
Or if you're too small.
Right.
You've got to have a combination of almost everything.
Yeah, that comprehensive approach. And the tagline to the book is it's the essential guide to optimal firefighter performance and longevity. So we didn't just want to focus on, like you said, you know, just the physical fitness. We want to focus on, can you perform your job or can you perform your daily tasks, right? But also longevity. You know, in the fire service, another thing I didn't mention before was that, you know, so many firefighters, after they retire, after putting in 20, 25, 30 years in the fire service, you know, a year or 2 years after they leave the fire service, they have, you know, a cardiac event, a stroke, cancer, or something that is near fatal or fatal that impacts the rest of their retirement. And so we really want to focus on longevity of firefighters, like having a long, healthy career, but also a long, healthy retirement as well. And so if you take that comprehensive approach, you incorporate all of the 4 pillars in your wellness routine, then you'll be able to hopefully have a long, successful, healthy retirement as well.
Awesome. And one of the other things I noticed about your book, and you mentioned it several times, recovery.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So that was, I'll be honest with you, that was one of the things when I read your book, the first time I read it, I think when you put it out years ago, the first time I read it, that was one of the first things I was not very good at.
Right.
I really didn't do recovery.
Many people who are, I would say take their fitness seriously, really focus on the conditioning phase of the workout, right? We focus on our workouts, but we don't focus on the rest of the day. The saying is an hour-long workout is 4% of your day. What are you doing with the rest of your day? You know, pun intended, the rest of your day. That's the other, 96% of your day. What are you doing to recover? And the biggest part of that, especially for firefighters, but everybody's sleep, good quality sleep. And I think we can all admit, whether you're a firefighter or not a firefighter, you can definitely say you can improve your sleep in some way, somehow. I think every single person can say that, especially if you have kids and young kids, you can definitely say that. But as it pertains to firefighters, just even last night, got off shift this morning. We ran 2 calls in the middle of the night up for, a couple of hours doing whatever. And that definitely impacts me, when I get off in the morning, and, it impacts, hormone levels, mood, cognition, mental cognition, physical ability, motor, sensation, and what you're wanting to accomplish through your day. Because if you don't sleep, you're in a fog, right? And
right.
I think the statistic I've seen it once is if you only get 4 hours of sleep is basically like drinking 4 beers right away, and you're like in that fog, and you're like not completely with it. And I can definitely attest to that. If we ran all night at the firehouse, I feel rough the next day. I feel like I'm coming down with something. It affects my immune system, and I'm just in that mental and physical fog. So, one of the things we really encourage firefighters when we talk about the rest and recovery is, yes, we can talk about active recovery, stretching and cool downs and foam rolling and all that stuff, right? But we also need to talk about your off-duty sleep. And so if you're a career firefighter, whatever time you have off-duty at home, take your sleep very seriously. And we give them numerous tips of how to improve their sleep at home. The biggest tip being, don't bring your phone to bed. Don't look at your phone right before you go to sleep. If you can sleep with your phone, outside the room as much as possible. I've started doing that. My phone sleeps in the kitchen. I sleep in my bed. And so I don't even have my phone by my bed anymore, because I was getting in the bad habit of, if I wake up at 5 a.m, or sometimes even earlier than that, just kind of grabbing your phone and just kind of peeking at something on it, right? Whether it's social media, email, or text messages, or whatever it is. Then you kind of go down this rabbit hole, and you're on your phone, and lo and behold, you're on your phone for 30 minutes or an hour later, and you're like, oh, well, I'm kind of awake right now. I guess I'll be up for the day after, looking at it at 3:30, 4:30 in the morning. You're like, no, that's not healthy. So I don't even sleep with my phone in my bedroom anymore. I just leave it in the kitchen when I'm off duty. Unfortunately, when I'm on duty, I definitely need it at my bedside. If someone needs to call me, emergency in the middle of the night or whatever, my guys need to get a hold of me. So that's one of the things that was hard at first, but I'm so glad I do it now.
That's a great practice. So yeah. I like that. I don't bring mine really to bed. I charge it.
Yeah.
But I have an iPad. I usually read on my iPad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't find myself going down rabbit holes. I'll wake up in the middle of the night a lot of times, and I'll just kind of flip it, use it as a light to get the instrument back, and then after that I just put it down there.
Well, that's good.
So yeah, I don't have time for rabbit holes anymore. I just don't.
6 kids, of course you don't have time for rabbit holes.
Podcast, church. It's just, I tell people I don't have time for trouble anymore.
Yeah.
There's just nothing.
That's good. You stay busy.
Yeah. And usually when I go to sleep, I'm pretty doggone tired anymore.
Yeah.
I usually sleep because I've gone pretty hard all day. And I usually work out at night. Mm-hmm. I know that's not necessarily optimal. I know a lot of people.
It's whatever works best for you, and that's what we tell people is like, I'm a morning person. I'm like I like to get the kids off to school, whatever, and like 8:30 or 9. That's my favorite time to work out. But at the fire station, that's not always possible. We typically work out in the afternoon, which I do not feel motivated to work out in the afternoon. But that's the best time when I'm on duty to work out. But if I work out at night like you, I'm just like wired, like the endorphins kick in and I can't go to sleep. Normally I like to try and go to bed by 10 p.m. But if I work out at 8 or something like that, I would not fall asleep till like midnight or 2.
Well, I usually don't go to bed at midnight. So I guess that works with my schedule. I usually don't get home till at least 9:30 or 10. Yeah. So, but I'm a night. I tend to work out at night in the evening, but for me, it's because I've worked all day and I've got to clear my head from the stress of the day. B, I've got bent-in injury because my job went from visiting people and going to financial planners' offices and all these things. So over the years, it's become more and more sedentary. So I'm just sitting behind a desk most of the day, and I just kind of
get it in when you can. And
I guess we get that energy out, and I'm not a morning person. So that'd be your sister is. So yeah.
We're cut from the same cloth.
Very much so. Very much so, which is awesome. That's really cool. Well, so we talked about the recovery, hydration. Mm-hmm. That's another thing that,
cheers, my friend.
I got mine right
there. You go.
Yeah, do our thing. But for me, that was a struggle for a long time. And I started putting 10 bottles behind my desk. I was sharing that with you. That way I'm getting in usually a minimum 6 to 8 bottles of water a day. And then whatever I do at home and at the gym, I usually do another bottle or 2 at the gym. So I'm staying pretty hydrated, but I have found that to be so helpful.
Yeah. And hydration, for the general population, for all of us is important, but for firefighters, it's even more important, especially during the hotter summer months. And so when we have our turnout gear on, we have, it's 3 layers of our turnout gear, but we're also total wearing 70 pounds of extra added weight, right? Between our helmet, just different tools that we have, and boots, everything, right? Our air pack. So we have that extra weight. We have this heat that is trapped, right? And so when we need to work at our hardest in a fire, all that heat is getting trapped within us. We're not able to, we're definitely sweating, but we're not able to release that heat like we should. So we call them the toxic twins of health and wellness for firefighters. That's heat stress and dehydration. And so they compound many different problems, one of which is our heart attacks and strokes and like that. Because your body gets dehydrated, you start forming, and when your blood gets thicker, you start forming blood clots, and that's when you can have those cardiac events like the strokes and the heart attacks. And so we really encourage firefighters, yes, this is important for the general population, but for you as firefighters, you have to be really on top of your hydration. National Academy of Sports Medicine recommends that men get 15 cups of water a day, and that women get 9 cups of water per day. And if you have anything strenuous on top of that, you need to have even more water on top of that.
Wow.
Now, multiple sources of hydration, not only water, but eating the right foods, right? As we all know, like a lot more fruits, a lot more vegetables, right? That have like a lot of water in it. And so if you can't get the 15 cups of liquid water, also get that from other sources, through your nutrition as well. But yeah, we just give small.
And just saying that real quick.
Yeah.
I have this little saying, because people always say, well, if I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, I can get too fat from all the sugars and fruits. My quote is, find me that person.
Yeah. Someone who's eating,
eating a lot of fruit and getting fat from a lot of fruit just because it has natural sugars.
Yeah.
I'm always like, no, it's usually the combination of something else that they're doing.
Sure, and as long as you're active, right, and you're eating that balanced diet, and you're eating lots of fruit, that's fine. But as long as you're balancing everything, and it's all about that comprehensive approach that I talked about before, balance, comprehensive approach, and everything in moderation. And so, for firefighters, if you feel like you can't get that full hydration out of a water bottle or whatever you like to drink out of, and we tell people, carry something around with you everywhere you can go, that you're going to fill up with water and you see it. Like I know me personally, I need to drink at least 4 of these every day and also eat the right foods along with it. But that's one of the things that helps me is wake up first thing in the morning before I drink coffee, try and drink water, to jumpstart my hydration for the day, especially if I'm on shift, right? Especially if it's summer, especially if it's hot, and I know I'm going to be up against heat stress. And then the other thing is like before a workout, during a workout, after a workout, water, right? Try not to, always drink tea or soda, especially not sweet tea and all those things like that. As a firefighter, everything in moderation, soda here and there. But as long as you can stick with water, that's really what we want to do. And that's what we're trying to encourage firefighters.
Yeah. I mean, I always tell people if you have a soda or you have some coffee, you're going to flush it out if you're drinking plenty of water. Mm-hmm. It's the natural flush of extra salt any, you have a little extra salt in your diet that night because the food that you ate, you want a little more flavor.
Yeah.
You have to worry about salt when you don't have enough water.
Yeah.
Water literally will flush it out of your body most of the time.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
God designed this amazing.
Yeah, I love when people start drinking more water. They're like, I'm peeing all the time. I'm like, yeah, don't worry. Your body will get used to it. But that's also a good thing. Flushing out, the toxins that our body doesn't need, and they're not staying in our body as much, and getting those kidneys to work, more efficiently and more frequently. Yes, drink more water. So as much as possible.
Absolutely. Well, anything else we didn't cover yet?
So we talked about physical fitness, right? We talked about hydration. We talked about recovery. Nutrition. Can always talk about nutrition.
Nutrition is good. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think this is probably the hardest for everybody. Like most people can start to drink more water, right? But nutrition is difficult because it's highly individualized. So what works for one person might not work for another person, right? Especially when it comes to weight loss. Like Not everything works the same for everybody. So some people might do keto. Some people might be gluten-free. Some people might be vegan. Some people might do this. What we encourage people is whatever is going to be long-term sustainable for your success when it comes to nutrition, that's what you need to stick with. And so when Dan and I teach about, what nutrition is best for everybody, we basically give some very basic, rules or boundaries for people. The 3 best things you can do for, cutting things out of your diet: less sugar. That's the biggest thing. And 80% of the food products on shelves in American supermarkets, 600,000 products, 80% have added sugar that doesn't need to be there, right? So the best thing you can do is cut back your sugar, right? It's, going to lead to being overweight, diabetes, and the metabolic cluster of hypertension, high cholesterol, and we don't want to go down that road of having diabetes and being obese. So cutting out sugar, but also cutting out, preservative-laden foods. So the processed foods, the foods of convenience. If you're someone who every morning wants to stop at that fast food restaurant for that breakfast sandwich, right? Maybe do one less of that a week. And then instead of doing, that one less thing, do a healthier choice to replace that with. I know you don't want to do it every single breakfast, but Greek yogurt instead of that fast food sandwich, right? And if you replace that one meal, you're going to be golden. And I know I tell my soda story all the time. I used to drink 3 sodas a day. Okay. And she's probably going to kill me for telling this story, but one evening when I was right around 30, I'm 42 now, about to be 43. But one night, Allie and I, getting ready for bed, I had my shirt off, brushing my teeth at the sink, right? And I'll admit I was starting to get a little bit more of a belly, and I was drinking those 3 sodas, a lot of sugar every day, right? And she walks up to me and she pokes me in the stomach, and she's like, "Oh, you're starting to get a little bit of a belly."
That's awesome.
I said, "Oh, can you imagine if I ever said that to you?" Which you can never say that, right? But she said it to me, and I was like, "Oh, okay." And so coming back to the soda is I couldn't go cold turkey quit it, but I knew I had to cut back. And so I cut back to 2 a day, then 1 a day, then 1 every couple days. And then I switched over to diet. And then eventually I just kind of got rid of it. And I'll have a diet every now and then occasionally. But just from doing that, not changing anything else about my fitness, my nutrition, or anything else, but over a 6 months period of time, I lost 10 pounds just from the cutting out sugar and soda. Just from that, I still would have dessert and stuff like that, but the 2 to 3 sodas a day, that extra, 300 to 450 calories a day, and every soda has about 30 to 40 grams of sugar in it, a full strength soda, right?
Right.
Cutting out that 80 to 120 grams of sugar every day. That my body responded to it, and I lost 10 pounds in 6 months without having to change anything else. So if you're a soda drinker out there, if you can quit as soon as possible, or switch over to diet and then lessen your intake of that, the better off you'll be.
Yeah, and one of the things I also think when we're talking about water is that if you're somebody maybe who drinks a few sodas, but you don't have a ton, you may start drinking water and actually notice your weight go up. I actually had my weight go up about 10 pounds when I went to water.
Wow.
Because it started I was actually underhydrated.
And so you got more water in your system.
Right. And my muscles started expanding out. Right. And all of a sudden I started having muscle growth that I hadn't had in a long time.
Yeah.
So that was one of the changes when I started flipping more and getting away from, I was doing a lot of teas, and it wasn't necessarily unhealthy stuff. I mean, it was seltzer waters, but it was always stuff that was not just water.
Yeah. And that's one of the things we talk about too, is if you want a water additive, do a water additive. Just make sure there's not a lot of sugar in it, right? And not a lot of weird chemicals you can't pronounce, right? The best thing that you can do if you want flavored water is get some limes or oranges or lemons or whatever, make a huge pitcher in the morning, or, cut up these different pieces and throw them in your water jug or water pitcher. And if you want flavored water, that should hopefully get you through the day. But if you want those kind of like the Mio, flavor additives that they make, and squirt a little bit in your water because you're so used to all that sugar from a soda or from a, fruit juice, if you will, or something sweet. If you want to go with those Mios or those other flavored additives to kind of step down, go with those, and then hopefully eventually you can just do pure water more often.
Yeah. One of the things that also helps me is I always think about the consequence.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I always compare, like I'll look at something and always go, is the reward better than maybe something else? And I'll give an example. I know, like, if I get orange juice at a restaurant, there's probably, I know that the sugar content's usually almost twice of a soda. So it's like drinking 2 cans of soda, right?
Sure.
So I'm thinking to myself, do I want that?
Yeah.
Or do I want a bowl of ice cream?
Yeah.
And the bowl of ice cream is going to have less sugar.
At least it's going to have protein in it.
Well, and the way I look at it is you're doing the same. If I were to put a cup of orange juice there or these, let's say a coffee cup of ice cream.
Yeah.
Which one would you probably take? Which one would really satisfy you more?
Ice cream all day.
Yeah.
It's got fat, the calories and at least a little bit of protein in it, right?
Yeah,
but
I just
make
look
sure
at
it's just not a huge amount.
Exactly. But I guess my point is if I'm going to break, and do something, bad me would have been like, I'm doing orange juice and I'll do the ice cream later. And, like
I'm going to do both.
Both. Right. Now I'm thinking if I'm going to have to work out a little bit harder, or I'm going to have to, if I'm going to have a little sweet, I just start to think. I know typically before holidays, I ramp up a little extra cardio before and after, because I know when I go to somebody's house and they have 3 different pies, and this, I want to try them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to be.
I don't want to be rude. You want to try all of them I
want to enjoy them. Yeah. I do. I love pie. I love holiday food, and I want to indulge like I normally do. So I know, hey, I should prep up and burn a few. I do turkey runs. Yeah. We instigated those on. Instituted those, years ago. Me and Noel started running. Well, it was actually me, Noel, and Sayla, and eventually now it's kind of Noel, but Noel and I, it's our thing. Go run the turkey trot, do that before Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving almost isn't Thanksgiving without doing that. Yep. And also doing some stuff afterwards. Like we've done several.
That flag football game with the family afterwards, right? Something like that. Stay active.
I was going to say, we in fact, I remember you were working one time, but we saw your wife and kids, but we've gone to Castlewood sometimes to do a hike, go do a couple mile hike. And
you got to earn that Thanksgiving dinner, those 3 pies.
Yeah. Well, again, just kind of, I think making choices that build bonds that are good. Mm-hmm. One of the things I find when I'm talking to people at the gym who are larger and they get there and they're like, what do I do? Or I'm usually like, just start moving.
Yeah, just start moving. Yep.
Start finding things that you enjoy doing. You're never going to like you'll never do something if you hate it. They go, well, how do you do all the cardio? I go, I don't enjoy cardio quite honestly. Yeah. But it becomes tolerable because it's my one time a day I can watch a TV show or movie. I'll put it on an iPad. Watch a series. I just finished a series called Bosch on Amazon. Mm-hmm. But I'll pick a series and watch them and watch an episode or half an episode or whatever, while I'm doing my cardio. But if I have to think about it, when I don't have, on those days I forget my iPad and I'll leave it at home or whatever. I'm telling you, doing cardio is so hard. Yeah, my brain.
It's a distraction that you can get through the cardio a lot easier.
Yeah, I just and it makes it enjoyable because it's something I can't watch. Cop movies around my kids a whole lot of times because they're young. They'll start shooting each other. and my older kids could care less. They're girls, so they would much rather watch a good romance. Yeah. So, if I'm going to watch a good, bang bang, war show or something like that, I'm on my own. Yeah, so I do those a lot of time. But my point of that is just doing things you enjoy. And then you talked about the nutrition. I always tell people just start to think of balanced things. Start to as I said, weigh some consequences. It doesn't have to be major. Just think about just like that, orange juice or ice cream. Not both. I can do one or the other. What am I going to do today? Yeah. I said for me, I try not to eat out more than a couple times a week at most with appointments. So, and I keep oatmeal here, as in my office, and that's my lunch most days.
Keep healthy choices around you, right? I'm the type of person, and this is one of the recommendations we give to people. Like, if it's out in the open, you see it, you're going to eat it. If it's hidden, you're most likely not going to eat it. So, the healthier choices, put those out in the open so you see them, you walk by them more often. Like you put the fruits out, you know, the healthier carbs and breads and stuff like that are, you know, healthier choices, put those out so you can see them more, as opposed to, you know, the ice cream, the more snacks, the chips, the crackers and all that stuff. Try and keep it in the pantry as much as possible, and maybe hide it behind something so you're not constantly, you know, reaching for that first instead of having it out on the countertop.
I agree on that. And the other thing I was going to say is, when you do those things, you know, like I do different snacks, you know, around here at the office. I usually do like one of my things in the morning once, you know, around 11 or 12, because I tend to eat a later lunch. I will grab peanut butter pretzels. Mm-hmm. But I was noticing I was eating too many, and I was actually overeating because I was just reaching in there and I grab. Yeah. So what I've done now is I'll grab a napkin, or I'll take the lid, whatever, and I'll grab just a handful, just a small handful. It doesn't need. I try to make sure, and I try to make sure I'm not getting more than maybe 5 or 6.
Sure.
And now I'm getting the same fill. Yeah. I need a little protein. I need something at this point. I haven't had a whole lot in a few hours, so I need to keep my metabolism going. I'm trying to be somewhat healthy. I mean, those are fairly healthier, and but I'm not overeating because they're not. If I had the whole container in front of me, well, I'll just sit there and And the same thing, like any snack, you put any type of sugary stuff in front of me, I will. But if I limit the intake, I just grab a handful, put it on, put the lid, as you said, put it back to where it's not convenient to get to it real easy.
Yep.
Out of sight, out of mind. Eat what's in front of me, move on.
And that's one of the other tips we give people is do not eat out of the container. Like, it's so tempting for us to grab the container and have it at our side, like you were saying. But you're going to keep on reaching in and again. But if you can just grab the lid full or whatever you're going to do, and there's 10 there or whatever, okay, this is what I'm eating, and I'm putting the container somewhere else, and I'm not going to eat out of that container. Yeah,
practical steps that you can do just to kind of limit, overeating, because most of the time when we do that anyways, we're miserable.
Yeah.
Like you start to go, man, I'm really full. I'm not comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's what it was with that. I found myself just, I was eating probably double a serving size and not really paying attention. But the minute I just moved it to, grabbing a handful on a lid or putting whatever and then putting it away.
Right. And if you are going to choose those unhealthy options, like the ice cream, like you said, put it in a mug instead of eating out of that container. So smaller,
or even a bowl. Because I used to plow a bowl and I'd have it over the top.
Yeah.
And then I went to mug and I'd have it over the top. But over time, now it's like a half mug full.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Just cutting back a little bit by little bit. And especially, Americans eat 97% of what's on their plate, regardless of plate size. So if you have a smaller plate, you're still going to eat almost 100% of it. If you have a huge plate, you're almost going to eat 100% of it. So what's the healthier option is choose a smaller plate or a mug for those unhealthier meals or snacks.
Yeah. Another thing I've also noticed when you do go out to eat, if you get a big serving, I don't know if you do this, but sometimes I will actually tell them to go ahead and box up half of it.
Yeah.
To begin with.
For the lunch the next day or whatever. Yeah.
And before I even start eating, well, it's still the way it is. Yeah. Versus whatever I don't eat, I just tell them, hey, can you box up half? And I have found that to be kind of helpful because then I'll just bring back to the office and eat it later. And then I don't overeat at lunch.
That's your food for the whole day.
Yeah. Yeah. And just because a lot of the serving sizes are so
ginormous.
Yeah.
It's the American culture.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're so big. And again, they taste great, but then you come back to work and for the next hour, you're absolutely useless because you're just so full, you're miserable, you're in a food coma.
Yeah, that insulin dump, right? Your blood sugar spikes so high, your insulin, spiked high too, and then you get that post, fullness, that dump of where you're like, oh, I can't even move. I don't want to do anything. I just feel miserable.
And can you imagine? Now, here's the thing I think about with that. Can you imagine being that way and all of a sudden have a fire call?
Right. Yeah.
And for you guys, all of a sudden I can come back here and be a little unproductive for a half hour, an hour, but it isn't somebody's life on the line.
Right. Exactly.
For you guys, you go back to the firehouse after eating something like that. You're in a food coma and all of a sudden you've got to snap to attention. It's going to be, as you just said, you've got these chemical levels within your own body that now are out of whack.
Yeah. And the saying, jokingly, is don't eat more than what can fit in your mask. So if that makes sense, we have our masks. So if you're going to have to throw up, which you're not going to throw up in your mask, but the joke is don't overeat, as have those more medium-sized meals. Don't eat a ginormous meal. And then you're so full, you're miserable. And we've all felt that before after a Thanksgiving meal or whatever, you're so full. And if you're on duty, that's not going to go well if you have a fire. And, that's happened to firefighters who've gone on those calls and, throw up in the yard, and hopefully not in their mask, but, throw up in the yard, and it's not good.
I imagine.
Yeah.
All right. I think we've covered nutrition.
Yep.
Anything else we need to cover in it?
No. We could talk about nutrition for 8 hours, right? It's a subject all in itself, but, just the simple things: cut back on the sugars, cut back on the processed foods, and get rid of those empty calories, junk foods, and liquid calories. If you can really choose better liquid calories, whether that's a coffee instead of having a big frou-frou, whole milk, sugary whip topping, 400 calorie, big 20-ounce iced coffee, right? Instead of that, if you can go to the more healthier, black coffee, or just with a little cream or something in that, and you're only, 30 calories, right, for that coffee. So it's hard. People are so used to certain things that they like, and, it's hard to transition and make those better choices. But the more you do, it's really going to make a difference.
Definitely. All right. Any parting words on that?
No. I think we're all works in progress when it comes to nutrition. Every single one of us, myself included, Dan, everybody, we're all works in progress. We all have, our weaknesses when it comes to our food and nutritional choices, but just make those better choices day by day, and try and win that battle every day of better nutritional choices.
And yeah. And that is, have you heard, by the way, just a little random note, have you heard of this fasting? Have you done intermittent fasting?
I have not tried it, but it's a touchy subject for firefighters. Like off duty, yes, definitely. You can do it off duty as much as you want. If you're only going to eat 8 hours in your day from 10 to 6 p.m., that's fine. But when you're on duty, your body really has to be used to it, because let's just say you get a fire in the middle of the night and you don't have good calorie energy stores for that big fire or whatever that call is in the middle of the night, when you really need that energy. And if you're just starting out with intermittent fasting and your body's not used to it yet, there's there's a good amount of risk there for that person who needs to be able to perform and needs those immediate energy stores to do that. So it's a balance. I say whatever works for you. And you have to try it out for yourself. I know some people that just swear by it. I've never tried it, never felt the need to try it, but some people swear by it and really like it.
One of the things I'd also say is just thinking about all that is even what works now may change. One of the things I've noticed is, as I get older, my body has changed. And so some of the things that I used to do, I have to readapt. I'm constantly working on tweaking little things to keep myself in I don't want to say peak shape, because you're peak shape, but in good shape. Good shape where I can keep up with my kids, play soccer, do the things that I do.
Functional.
Yeah, but like I look at you and you're like a specimen. I still got a little bit of a dad bod, but it's not bad.
I'm working on my dad bod. Come on, give me credit.
But seriously, like I've noticed like there are things that I could do 10, 20 years ago.
Sure.
Aches and pains that are different.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's that longevity, right? So you need to change something up. Like you can't do the same exact workouts or maybe eat the same foods. You got to change it up a little bit so you don't have that, those knee aches and pains or shoulder and stuff. And myself included, I've had to change my workout and different things I've done over the years just to make sure I'm more functional and practicing what I preach, focusing on longevity instead of, bench pressing those 90-pound dumbbells, 100-pound dumbbells that I used to do in my 20s, maybe they're 50s now or 60s or something like that, right? So I don't want to incur an injury when I don't want to cause an injury with my fitness. I want to make sure I'm avoiding them and preventing them by the way I'm working out, and not to, cause them.
No, that's exactly right. You kind of, one of the things I also notice is like versus maybe doing as much weight up. I don't know, when I do less weight, I tend to work more on form, and I try to hold it at certain spots to where I know I'm hitting myself differently and coming down maybe a little bit slower than I normally would with heavier weight. So I'm really getting, the breadth of the workout. When I'm going all down, I'll go all the way down and really feel that snap in my back. So I'm really working, not just my chest muscles, but my back muscles when I'm doing all that in my arms.
Yeah, so. Any workout, that's a good point. Is like any workout can be made harder by just going slower. right? You can try and do 200 crunches in 60 seconds, right? And kind of look like you're almost having a seizure. But what's hard about a crunch, right, is to go really slow, right? Any ab or core movement, when you go really slow, that's when you're really going to feel the most benefit out of it.
Yeah. Well, good. This is all good stuff.
Right.
I'm learning, as we're talking. This has been a good review.
I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. Well, hey, thanks for listening in to Triple Play. We'll have to get you back here. We'll get you back. He's got another book for those who don't know. Jim has a second book that's a little different. But if you haven't checked it out already while you've been watching this, Firefighter Functional Fitness, where can they get it, by the way?
Yeah, so you can go to firefighterfunctionalfitness.com. Very easy website, but also go to our social media. The handle for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram is all at Firefighter F Fit. That's at Firefighter F Fit. And then also we've got to mention YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel, if you just go to YouTube, type in the search bar Firefighter Functional Fitness, it will come up right away. We have over 400 videos on there. And like I talked about before, we have that Big 8 concept that we preach about. We broke down those movements and exercises and all that stuff in there. Push, pull, lift, carry, drag, core, cardio, flexibility. We broke those all down and put those in playlists for people. It's completely free. Just go on there if you want ideas for workout or cool down flexibility or whatever it is. If you want any ideas, go on our YouTube page and check it out. And we've even got workouts on there too for if you need an idea for a workout.
Yeah, I was going to say one of the things about that too is that those are on there, and that they're not necessarily ones you have to be in the gym to do.
Right.
There's anything from kettlebells. I know Dan's huge on the kettlebell concept. TRX straps. I mean, there's all sorts of things you can utilize to get a workout in, and so just like the functional part of it, there's all sorts of functional aspects to it, so you can find exercises that hit those categories that will meet wherever you're at, whether it be at home, the gym,
and
firehouse.
170 of them are on our YouTube page are body weight. So 170 body weight exercises. You don't need anything, right? But if you wanted to add weight to those things, you could.
There you go.
Yeah.
So check it out. Make sure you give me all the tags, and I'll make sure they're in the show notes so people can grab the book, check out the videos and any of the other stuff. We'll put all that on there. And so check the show notes. Also, as we're getting towards the holidays, don't forget we have merch, so you can check out that on our website. Other than that, we'll catch you next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share. Thank you. Thanks, Jim.
Awesome, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
You're safe.